Many uncertainties about the past of the King of Monsters still persist after the recent films of the Legendary MonsterVerse, as we witness the immense strength of Godzilla compared to other creatures in the franchise. However, at the same time, he is portrayed as the last member of his species. But is this true? What could have caused the near extinction of such a powerful race of titans like the Gojiras? Get ready because we'll explore all of this and more in this video. Welcome back to Nerds Insights, your daily channel for nerd news. And as I always say, it's extremely important for you to like this video and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on, so you're always informed when new news is released. The past of Godzilla in the legendary films remains largely unexplained. We know that in the present day, he is considered the king of monsters after reclaiming his throne by defeating King Ghidorah, but since his first appearance in the 2014 film, it's been shown that he has the responsibility of maintaining the world's balance. However, it is not clear when he started doing this and if there were already others like him with the same purpose. Recently, the Hollow Earth was introduced to us in Godzilla vs. Kong, which is essentially the birthplace of all the world's titans. So, I imagine that each creature we see roaming the surface in the films must have its own species living within the Hollow Earth. That's why all those titans shown on the Monarch's monitor are different from each other. In other words, we don't have two of the same species. This can be considered a plot hole since it doesn't make much sense for there to be only one member of each type of titan in the world. With Kong and even Godzilla himself, it has been stated that they are the last of their respective species. But does this apply to all the other titans as well? Personally, I still believe that there are several of them living within the Hollow Earth, and we will see this in the next film, which is titled Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. Speaking specifically about Godzilla, considering that he is indeed one of the last giant lizards in the MonsterVerse, what could have caused the death of the others like him? In the last film, we saw the sanctuary within the Hollow Earth, with remnants of what appears to be the Titans' War. For those who are not familiar with this, it was revealed in the films that a long time ago, there was a great battle among the Titans, mainly focused on the species of Kong and Godzilla. That's why we see various bones and remains of what seems to be other members of Godzilla's species in that temple within the Hollow Earth. The axe that would later be used by Kong in the same film is presented as a dorsal fin of Godzilla and is found embedded in a skull on the ground. So, we can conclude that a significant portion of the giant lizard species perished in this battle. It's true that it doesn't make much sense if we take the example of the Kong x Godzilla battle in the last film, where we saw that even with the possession of the axe, the giant gorilla couldn't prevail. Therefore, it is hard to believe that other members of Kong's species could defeat their adversaries, even with these weapons created by them. Of course, if they were to act as a group, the situation might be different. After all, even though Godzilla is superior to Kong in Godzilla x Kong, we realized that if we increased the number of Kongs in that battle and surrounded Godzilla with 2 or even 3 Kongs, the result would obviously be different. But of course, Godzilla's powers would still give him a significant advantage. However, there are no strong indications that all members of Godzilla's species possess the same powers as him. Some origin stories of the giant lizard imply that he gained his powers by swallowing a star that fell from the sky. In other words, it may not be a natural characteristic of his species. You might have heard about this before, but if you want, I can bring you the complete story of Godzilla's origin and powers. It's quite possible that within the species of Gojira, there are also different levels or variants, similar to giant primates, where there are gorillas like Kong, but there are also those resembling other races, such as chimpanzees or even orangutans. We had confirmation of this with the main villain in the upcoming film, who appears in the teaser trailer for Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. He is clearly a primate like Kong, but his appearance has some differences. Specifically, we see that his arms are longer, and his skin has a reddish tone. So, I imagine the same could apply to the giant lizards. It's worth recalling the scene in which Kong is seen running through the Hollow Earth for the first time. We see some creatures trying to escape from him, trying to avoid being trampled. However, we are then introduced to a Hollow Earth lizard that devours these creatures, named Doug. Many fans theorized at the time that this creature could be a distant relative of Gojira or perhaps from another race in the early stages of evolution. Therefore, it is quite likely that the weaker Gojiras were killed during the Titans' War or even before it. But to be honest, it doesn't necessarily have to be creatures of other species responsible for killing the weaker members of the Gojiras. It's quite common in species that don't typically work together for fights to occur among their own kind, where only the strongest survives. And if we think about it, This behavior aligns perfectly with the current Godzilla we have in the MonsterVerse, as we know he is a titan who always seeks to impose his alpha sovereignty over other titans, so it is entirely plausible to imagine that other giant lizards were also selfish creatures that enjoyed solitude, which could have contributed to the near extinction of their species. I say this because it would have been much easier to defeat members of the Gojiras species when they were alone, each in their own territory, if they had decided to act as a group, similar to giant primates. I highly doubt that we would have been defeated in the Titans' War. This is because working alone, even with powers, but surrounded by other titans, is a significant disadvantage, especially if one of those rivals happens to be the Scar King, the mysterious creature featured in the teaser trailer for Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire. We still don't know much about this titan, but the prevailing theory among fans is that the glow in his eyes indicates that he also possesses the atomic powers of the Gojiras. Hence, it makes sense that he played a role in exterminating almost the entire Godzilla species, leaving only one who continues to live on the surface as the King of Monsters. In this sequel, we will see the Scar King aiming to fulfill his objective of eliminating the Gojira species once and for all. Now, I'd like to hear your opinion on everything we've discussed. Which of these options do you think makes the most sense for the extinction of the Gojira race? Do you believe there are still others like them within the Hollow Earth? Do you think this will be shown in Godzilla x Kong: The New Empire? Please share all your thoughts in the comments. I'm eager to know. Thank you so much for watching this video until the end. Don't leave before giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. Take care, and until next